Hello, everyone, and welcome back. If you don't know me, my name is Bedford-Flood. I am founder of ProSource Staffing, and I help leaders and hiring managers hire better, smarter, and faster. If you're a hiring manager or anyone involved in the hiring process, today's video is for you. We're going to dive deep into the key principles of conducting a proper interview and why it's crucial to get it right. Whether you're hiring your first employee or you're a seasoned manager with decades of experience, there's always room for improving the way that we interview. A great interview isn't just about asking the right questions, it's about creating an environment where both you and the candidate can truly get to know one another. So let's explore how you can interview properly to not only find the right candidate, but also build your company's reputation as an employer of choice. Let's start with preparing for the interview. Preparation is key. I can't emphasize this enough. A well prepared interview will help you stay focused, ask insightful questions, and ensure the candidate is the right fit for your team. Let's break down some of the key steps in preparing for an interview. First, make sure that you know the role inside and out. Before the interview, make sure you have a deep understanding of the job you're hiring for. Review the job description, the key responsibilities, and the skills required. This will help you gauge whether a candidate's experience aligns with your needs. Also, ask yourself, what problems is this person going to solve? What qualities will they bring to the team? Review the candidate's resume and application thoroughly. Look through the candidate's resume and the application before the interview, not just during. Take note of key accomplishments, gaps, and red flags. It will help you ask more informed questions. Make sure you've noted any specific questions on skills and experience that you'd like to dive deeper into. Create a structured interview plan is so important. An unstructured interview can quickly veer off track, so creating a plan is so crucial. This includes both the questions you'll ask and the flow of the interview. A good interview should balance standard questions with specific inquiries based on the candidate's resume. Be sure to prepare behavioral questions. Behavioral questions are essential because they allow you to see how candidates have handled situations in the past. Use the STAR method. This is situation, task, action, result to guide your questions. For example, tell me about a time when you had to overcome a challenge at work. What was the outcome? Be sure to also create a comfortable environment. So we're going to talk about that a little bit deeper. Setting the right tone is critical to getting the best out of your candidates. You want them to be comfortable, open, and able to showcase their skills without feeling under pressure, or at least not feeling any more pressure than they have to. Here's how you can create that atmosphere. Start with some small talk. Don't dive straight into the hard questions. Start by building rapport with the candidate. A few minutes of light conversation can help both you and the candidate feel so much more at ease. Ask questions like, how did you hear about the position? Or what interested you about this role? These questions not only ease nerves, but it also gives you insight into their personality. Be sure to explain the interview process to them thoroughly. Let the candidate know how the interview will go. Don't surprise them. This is going to help reduce anxiety and give them a roadmap of what to expect. For example, I'll ask you a few questions, then we'll discuss your background in more detail. And at the end, I'll give you the opportunity to ask any questions you might have. Make it a two-way conversation. Remember that interviews are a two-way street. Encourage the candidate to ask questions throughout the interview. This shows their interest in the company and it helps you gauge if they're really invested in the role or they're just looking for a paycheck. Ask the right questions during the interview. So let's move on to the core of the interview, and that is asking the right questions. The goal of this part is to assess not only whether the candidate has the necessary technical skills, but also whether they're a good cultural fit for your team. So let's break it down a little bit. Let's start with the basics. Begin with questions like, what's something you're really proud of that you've accomplished recently? Or what drew you to our company? These questions help the candidate open up and give you insight into their motivations and their interest. Then you want to dig into their experience, dig deep. Ask questions that allow the candidate to explain their previous role and accomplishment. Focus on quantifiable results. For example, how did you contribute to your previous employer's goals? Can you share a specific example of a project that you led? Then ask behavioral questions. As I mentioned before, the behavioral questions are very critical. Try to ask questions that explore their problem solving and conflict resolution ability. For example, can you tell me about a time when you had to resolve a conflict within your team? How did you approach it? Then you want to make sure the big one, assess cultural fit. Cultural fit is often just as important as technical skills. Ask questions like, what kind of work environment do you thrive in? Or what do you think makes a successful team dynamic? These questions can give you insight into how well they integrate into your company culture. Now let's move on to soft skills. Soft skills like communication, adaptability, and emotional intelligence are essential in any role, doesn't matter what it is. Ask questions that help you assess these traits, such as how do you handle feedback? Or can you give me an example of when you had to adjust to a sudden change in a project? And then don't forget to listen actively. Great interviewers don't just ask questions, they listen actively. Listening is just as important as talking during the interview process. And be present. It is so easy to get distracted, especially when you're interviewing multiple candidates. However, it's important to stay fully engaged and present in the conversation. This shows the candidate that you value their time and input. Be sure to give them time to answer any questions. Avoid jumping in too quickly after asking a question. Give the candidate time to think and formulate a complete answer. Silence can be uncomfortable, but it gives the candidate space to provide thoughtful responses. They don't know what you're going to ask before going in there, so give them time. Then listen between the lines. Pay attention to nonverbal cues, tone of voice, and how they answer the question. These subtle signals can give you more insight than just the content of their response. Let's discuss closing the interview. Once you've asked your questions and you've listened carefully, it's time to close the interview. Here's how to do it professionally and thoughtfully. Provide time for questions. Always allow the candidate to ask questions. This not only helps them understand the role better, but also gives you an opportunity to see what's important to them. And most importantly, explain next steps. Be transparent about what happens next. For example, we'll be reviewing candidates over the next few days, and you should hear from us within a week regarding the next steps. And then thank the candidate for their time. Their time is just as valuable as yours. Regardless of the outcome, always thank the candidate for their time and effort. A little appreciation goes a long way, and it leaves a very positive impression. Now, let's wrap up today's video on how to interview properly as a hiring manager. Remember, conducting a great interview is not just about asking the right questions. It's about being prepared, creating a comfortable environment, listening actively, and evaluating the candidate holistically. By following these tips, you'll be well on your way to making better hiring decisions and building a stronger team. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss future videos. Also, leave a comment below and let me know what other topics you'd like to see covered on this channel. Thank you for watching and happy hiring.